Welcome back everybody, my name's Dev and I'm going to run you through how you can get started day trading in 2026 without having any prior knowledge. So when you come into the space and you type up how to get started day trading on YouTube, right? Most content is already based around for people who know how to trade. This is not going to be one of those videos. If you've been trying to figure out how to trade for months on end, you've been scrolling on Instagram, you've been kind of saving a bunch of posts and you still haven't started, this video is for you because this is the exact video I wish I had when I was in your positions. By the end of this video, you're going to have an honest step-by-step picture of what trading actually looks like, a real roadmap of what to do first, in what order, and you'll have an understanding of what gets people caught up the most in this journey as well. So my name's Dev. I trade full-time out of Sydney. I started trading at 19 years old with zero prior knowledge, right? I had no finance background, no economics background. I had no idea what a candlestick was, right? And let me tell you, I made every single mistake on the mistake book that you could make before it finally clicked. So I'm going to break down exactly how you can get started without making the same mistakes that I did. So let's get straight into it. So before we get into the actual nitty gritty of it, let me explain what day trading simply is. Here's the easiest way I can explain day trading to you. So think about buying and selling something within the exact same day and trying to make a profit on that short-term price movement. That's it. This is not any long-term investing. This is not buying and holding. It's literally, I buy at $1 and I'm trying to sell at $1.10. That's it. Nothing more than just that, right? So here's what it's not. It's not passive income. It's not a shortcut. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And this is not something you can figure out in one weekend. Anyone telling you this otherwise is probably lying to you. So most beginners make the exact same mistake that everyone makes. They jump straight to the strategies. They skip over the fundamentals and the concepts that they need to build, and they just go on YouTube, look up best day trading strategy, highest win rate, whatever. And they open up a trading app. They try to trade it on demo, they try to trade it on live, and they don't understand why it doesn't work, right? But there's an issue to that. They've just missed the most fundamental part of day trading, learning before earning. So what you need to first do is understand what you're looking at. So understanding what a chart is, think of it as the history of what buyers and sellers have done at every single point in time. When the price goes up, more people want to buy than they do want to sell. And when price goes down, more people want to sell than they want to buy. That's the simple foundations of it. Before you learn any strategy, before you learn any other concepts, you need to be able to look at a chart and be able to read it like a story. What happened at this point in time? Why is price moving this certain way? Where did the buyers or sellers step in and why did they do so? You don't really need to be an expert before you move on, but you need to have spent some time with this. So easiest way to spend some time with this is by opening up a free TradingView account and pulling up any chart, right? Just having a look at it, getting your mind exposed to what a chart looks like. Learning how price moves, where it's kind of reversing from, and just having a look. You're not making any decisions, you're not putting any trades on, you're simply just observing. That's it. Now, step 2 is learning a strategy on how to actually trade. You've looked at the chart, you kind of have an understanding of it. Now you want to build up a process on how you're going to trade. So what I'd recommend by doing this is choosing one thing and going deep. So the biggest trap that beginners do is consuming content from 20 different people at the same time. Right? They all have different approaches to each other and they trade a little bit differently. So this can be very contradicting. This is what I call analysis paralysis or information overload. You've got too much information and you don't necessarily know what to do with it. You end up with a head full of half understood ideas and no actual clear method forward. So what you need to do, pick one methodology, learn it properly, understand it, not just I understand what a fair value gap is, understand it, how to apply it, where it comes on the charts and why it does exactly what it does, right? Go deep, don't go wide. That's all you need to do. If you want to learn the exact way I trade and I teach my students, click the link in my bio. You can apply to learn from me directly, or I have a free Discord as well, which you can learn everything for free. So check that out. Now, step 3, understand risk before you understand your entries, right? This is one thing that costs beginners genuine money. If you're ever thinking about what to buy or sell, you need to understand exactly how much money you're putting into this trade every single time. You don't want to just click buy without knowing how much money is on the table. So a basic rule of thumb is you never want to risk more than 1% of your account on any single trade. So let's say you've got a $1,000 account, that's going to be $10. On $5,000, it's going to be $50, right? So it sounds like a smaller amount, right? And it genuinely is, because small losses will not burn your entire portfolio, but big ones will. Let's say you take a 10% trade and you lose 10 of them in a row, because that is very viable for you to do as a beginner. If you don't really know what you're doing, you've just lost $5,000, right? But let's say you lose 10 trades in a row at $50, you've only lost $500, and you've still got your account intact to play with. So risk management is very boring, but is also one of the most important things in this entire video. So before you move on to anything else, you need to make sure that your risk management is in check. So now you've kind of gotten to the point of you kind of understand the strategy, you understand the market, you understand how price moves. Now, one of the most common questions a beginner will ask is, what do I trade? Do I want to trade Forex? Do I want to trade stocks? Do I want to trade crypto? Do I want to trade futures? And there are so many options, and most of the content doesn't really tell you exactly what to choose. So here's an honest breakdown. So I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of what each thing is. Stocks, crypto, Forex, futures. So stocks are essentially you're buying a share in a company and expecting it to go up. Most of the time, this needs to be done with leverage for you to see a fair bit of return. If you are doing day trading, if you're just investing, people primarily just invest in stocks, but you can day trade them as well. If you are going to day trade, you're probably going to need to use some leverage, not financial advice. Crypto is basically a 24/7 market, which is available to anyone. It sounds appealing, but it is one of the most volatile markets in this list in general, right? And it is also the most manipulated because it doesn't have the most regulation to it so far, right? High volatility initially for a beginner can wipe you out quick, and it's not impossible to learn on, but it's probably not the most recommended starting point to get started, right? Now, Forex, this is foreign exchange, so this is basically currencies. So this is going to be the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, or the US dollar versus the Japanese yen, or JBP versus USD, things like that. It's just one currency up against another. It's a very lower barrier to entry. This is where most people do get started in their trading career. I personally got started with Forex, and I know a bunch of other people did as well. But the challenge is a lot of currency pairs have a lot of things and a lot of variables affecting them. So let's say you're trading AUD versus USD. You're going to have a lot of AUD variables alongside the USD variables as well. So now you're going to need to track news, economic news from both of these regions to ensure that you're not trading with their So you're not trading when there's high volatility on either ends of these pairs. So that's just something you want to be wary of. And honestly, it's the most beginner friendly. Now, next thing is futures. So futures is essentially contracts of buying and selling an asset at a future price. It's a little bit more advanced. It's not where most people should start, but it is worth. And futures are contracts to buy or sell an asset at a future price. It's a little bit more advanced. I usually wouldn't start here, but you certainly can. And to be honest, the market you trade, it's not really that deep. It doesn't really matter. It's just learn one, go deep in it. You can learn the exact same strategy on a Forex pair that will be applicable to futures, crypto, stocks, all of it, right? It's all universally applicable. Skills are important, reading price, managing risk, executing a process, and now being able to transfer this across markets. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna pick one of these 5 markets. You're gonna choose one pair out of these 5 markets, whether that be Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, NQ, ES, GBP USD, Euro USD, Tesla, Apple, whatever you wanna do. Choose one, right? And go deep. Learn that pair inside and out. Don't jump around, collect data on it so you understand every single time when you jump on the chart, you know exactly what you're looking for. Great, so now we've gotten to a point of we understand the market that we want to trade, we have a strategy, we understand the fundamentals. So now what do? Go to demo. So what is a demo account? A demo account is essentially a practice account with fake money where you can place real trades without losing any of your own capital. So most beginners either skip this stage or they don't even use it correctly, right? So here's exactly what you want to do with your demo account. Treat every demo trade like it's a real account, like it's real money that you're putting down. Psychologically, it's not going to feel the same, but mentally you want to act like it is the exact same. You want to be using the same position sizes relative to the account you're going to be using when you go live. So let's say when you're past your demo stage, you want to use a 10K account. You want to use the exact same 10K that you're using on demo, just so your brain can comprehend how things work and do all of this. So next, you're going to have the same amount of rules. You're going to have the same pre-trade process. So you understand that when you're taking on a demo account and when you're taking on a live account, it's the same environment. You don't want to trade these 2 environments differently, right? You don't want to take a trade on a demo account that you wouldn't take a trade on a live account, right? That's the whole point of building a process you can trust, right? If it only is going to work if you take it seriously. If you're not going to take it seriously on a demo, what makes you think you're going to take it seriously on a live account, right? And now, Once you've built your process, once you have an understanding of it, now your next question is probably going to be, how long do I stay on demo for? Well, the honest answer to that question is until you can actually prove to yourself that your process works consistently. It's not going to just be one good week. It's not going to be one winning trade. It's not going to be 30 trades. It's going to be about 50 to 100 trades that you can execute with your exact process continuously, consistently every single time. You want to write down every single trade you're taking. You want to understand why you're taking these trades and correct yourself as you go along. Because if you're not correcting yourself, if you're not reviewing the things that went right and the things that went wrong, how are you going to get better, right? And most people genuinely rush this, and there's no need to do so. They have a good few trades, they feel confident, and then they go live, right? And then they blow their account. Because one, they think they're a G. That's exactly what I did. I made about 50K on my demo account in like 2 weeks, and I thought I was the guy. One, I didn't have enough data. Two, I wasn't tracking every single trade I was. Three, I was literally placing a trade and then just going to sleep. And then I decided, yeah, live was exactly the way I was going to go. And then I lost a bunch of money doing so. A bunch of money. An unfathomable amount of money doing so. So what I would say, stay on demo longer than it feels comfortable. And then once you've got your process down pat, you understand where you've got your weaknesses and your strengths, then move on to a live account. Now, this is going to be the hard part that nobody really wants to tell you when you do first get into trading, right? And this took me 2 years and a lot of money to learn. So trading is mostly a psychological game. You can know every single concept that you need to know perfectly, down to the T. You can read a chart perfectly. You can have a solid strategy. You can have a solid system. You can have a solid process. And you can still blow every single account that you open if you haven't dealt with the psychology side, right? So here's a little bit of what it looks like. So let's say you have a rule. I'm not going to take a trade unless 5 out of 5 of my pieces of criteria have been met. And then price moves in a given direction. Now, only 4 out of your 5 pieces of criteria has been met. You think, close enough. I'm going to take the trade. So you take the trade and it loses. Then what do? You take another trade immediately to make back the loss you just made. Now, what you're doing at this point in time is you're making a decision on tilt. Tilt is essentially what we call your emotional state. So when you're stable, when you're disciplined, your emotional state is like this. When you're on tilt after a loss, it's like this. And when you're on tilt after a win, it's like this, right? We don't want to be trading on tilt, because when we trade on tilt, we're not trading out of a point of neutrality. We always want to be able to come back to neutral at all points in time. So when you trade after a loss, you're basically trading with worse judgment than you would be if you're trading neutrally. Same thing if you're doing the same when you're up. You're trading not at neutral, you're trading tilted upwards. And now let's say that trade you just took loses as well. Now you've got 2 trades that you've taken, both out of your both not meeting your criteria. Now you're going to spiral. So as you can see here, the pattern isn't necessarily the strategy's issue. It was more of a discipline problem, right? And this shows up for next to every single beginner I know. Usually when they switch from demo to live money, because this is now when your psychology has truly been triggered. And the fix isn't motivational. It's not go do a bunch of this stuff. No, it's more structure. You need to write down your rules before you get into a trade. You need to follow them during the trade, review them after the trade is done, and give yourself a process score after each trade that has nothing to do whether you won or lost, right? Because when people jump into the charts, they think winning is what you want to do and losing is what you want to avoid. That's not it. Your main focus wants to be, did I follow my rules or did I not? If you followed your rules and the trade lost, it's better than you breaking your rules and the trade winning. A lot of people, they might not see it like that, but that's exactly how it should be, right? A losing trade where you follow your rules is perfect, because that is what we call progress. But a winning trade where you broke your rules is a problem in disguise, because now you've taught your brain that I can win when I do the things that I'm not supposed to do. Then this will show up constantly and constantly and constantly. When you start doing the things that you shouldn't be doing, knowing that they're not going to work or knowing that they're out of your process, you're going to lose more than you would just following your rules. So psychology is a big part of this that you need to, it will come with time. It's not something you can speed around. It's not something you can teach. You can give guidance on it, of course, but it's something you learn. It comes with time. It comes with time in the market. And the sooner you understand that following your rules is more important than the money you make, the faster you learn this. Now, this is a question I get all the time. How long does this actually take for me to turn profitable? And nobody actually answers this for you, but it's all entirely dependent on how seriously you approach the foundational phase. What I see is with most people who stick with it and build a proper structure and get to a point of consistency between month 12 and 24 is when they genuinely start making their profits. Not from when they first opened their trading view, but when they genuinely started treating this like a skill that they were actually building. Not just like, let's open trading view tonight, let's have a look. Like, no, you're coming in, you have a process, you're locked in on the process, and you're going day in and day out, right? And it's not the super longest time for you to build a skill, right? But it's also not quit a day job in 30 days kind of stuff. Anyone that's saying that you can quit your job in 30 days is lying to you directly, right? Any skill it takes, any business that you're starting, let's say you're starting e-com, drop shipping, AI, OFM, anything that you do, it's gonna take you at least 12 months to understand the foundations, the basics of anything. It does not even matter. Even when you start a job, it takes you 6 months to even get used to the job itself. So anyone that's promising you that you can start making money within 30 days, they're either lying to you or they're making money off of you in some way, right? So here's the actual sequence of how it goes. Your first few months, it's usually going to be typically between, it can be 1 to 3 months or 1 to 6 months. You learn your foundations, you learn the charts, you learn the risk, you learn your one methodology on demo only, right? And then usually from, depending on how quick you get it done, let's say from month 6, right? Because we're going to extend it. Now we go from month 6 to 12. You're going to be building your process, documenting your trades, and finding exactly what works and proving it on demo consistently. Now, from month 12 onwards, you start a small live account, small positions, process focused. It's not going to be profit focused. You want to be making sure that you're following your process every single time that you're coming onto the charts. Now, after you've gotten to this point, you're going to scale. You're only going to want to scale when you've got the results to prove that you can scale. Most of the time, this is going to come from your live account itself. When you can see that, let's say you started at $1,000 and now the account is at $1,500. You've made a 50% gain over let's say 6 months, right? 50% gain over 6 months. That is evidence in itself, but you're only going to want to scale when you can prove that it was done through a repeatable process every single time. If you made $100 in one trade and then every other trade was $10, that's not a repeatable process, right? And that's not something you want to be able to scale with. You want to be able to scale on consistent, repeated results. Now, the timeline isn't the goal, it's the process that's the goal. Traders who try to skip to the end and focus on the profits over the process end up back to the beginning. They go back to, why am I not making money? Why is this not working? I need to learn this again. Whereas if someone who's focusing on the process over the profits, they will forever be in the lead. This is not like in the lead game, who's winning, who's not. You're always going to be in your own lane. But if you're focusing on the actual skill of how to day trade instead of how can I make money in this, then that's when you start making money. It sounds very counterintuitive because you're coming into day trading to make money, but when you learn the skill on how to day trade, the money is a byproduct, and a lot of people don't realize that. And when I say it can take you 12 months, that could even be a stretch for some people. I know people that have gotten profitable within 6 months. I know people that have gotten profitable within 4 years. It does not necessarily, there is no be all and end all rule of how long it's going to take you, right? It could take you longer. It could take the next person a lot less. It could take the next person after that twice the amount of time. It all just depends on your ability to learn the foundations, apply them correctly, and then follow your process. If you've been watching from the very start, well, congratulations. You've made it to the end part of the video. I hope that this is giving you some clarity and an honest picture of what is actually involved in day trading. So most day trading content kind of makes it look easier than it actually is, or makes it look impossible, right? And the truth is, realistically, it's neither. This is a learnable skill that takes real time, it requires real structure, but it can be done. Everyone that does day trade, there's nobody special. So if you'd like to get started learning living in Australia, I run a small program called the BMT Blueprint Foundations Phase. This is specifically for people who are starting at zero. It's not a course that you watch alone. It's a structured, guided pathway from where you are right now to having a real foundation built properly and then being able to execute on a live market. If you would like to join, you can click the link in my bio under the BMT Blueprint. There's going to be a little apply button after you click into that link. You can have a go through that, fill out the application form. If this is something that you are interested in, I'd love to speak with you. It is a pleasure to speak to you. If you watch the whole video, thank you. I appreciate it. Drop a like, drop a follow. Follow me on IG if you don't already. I'll see you guys in the next video.